Some stories arrive quietly. They announce themselves. They demand to be heard. Others don't. They stay with you quietly, unfinished, unresolved, returning to your thoughts when you least expect them. This one followed me for years, 18 years to be exact. I didn't forget it. I didn't let it go. I looked for it off and on, through different seasons of my life. I searched for a painting. I searched for the artist. I searched for any trace that it had existed at all. And that's where this episode begins, in the space where effort meets timing, where the supernatural brushes up against belief, and where answers still refuse to fully explain themselves. I was a newly married man then, still learning what it meant to share a life with someone. I didn't have a doctor of my own. Never really felt like I needed one. Bet my wife did. She suggested I started to see her family doctor, not out of concern, not out of fear, but because she wanted a long life with me. So I listened. The first time she mentioned him, she didn't talk about his credentials or his reputation. She talked about the waiting room. She told me about a painting he had hanging up on the wall, one she described as beautiful and powerful. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that demanded attention, just something that stayed with you. She said it always made her pause, that no matter how many times she had seen it, it never felt like a background decoration. At the time, I didn't think much of it. When I first arrived, it was your typical doctor's office. Nothing unusual. Tacky decor on the walls, outdated magazines scattered across the low table, rows of chairs lined up with people waiting for their turn. The kind of place you sit in without really seeing it, just passing time until your name is called. But out of everything in that room, one thing stood apart. A single piece of art. The painting my wife had been talking about. I'm not going to lie, it was religious, but not in the way that you would expect to find hanging in a doctor's office. Not decorative, not comforting. It didn't feel like it was there to reassure everyone. It felt deliberate. So let me tell you what this painting actually means. On the left side, you see an apocalyptic world. Buildings on fire, smoke filling the air, a world in chaos. A picture of a world consumed by sin. A world collapsing under its own weight, heading towards destruction. In the center, there was an endless ravine, a deep, uncrossable divide filled with eternal flames. Arrows point downward, showing where the path leads. And on the right side, everything changes. A golden city, bright, beautiful, peaceful, a vision of heaven. And the only way to reach it is by crossing the bridge. That bridge is a cross, a representation of how a Christian gets to heaven. This was the kind of painting I could fall into and get lost. To me, it was one of the most beautiful representations of Christianity I had ever seen. Eventually, my name was called, and it was time to see the doctor. While he gave me my checkup, I asked about the painting, its name, and who had painted it. He told me he didn't know. It had been a gift from his mother. I won't lie, that kind of deflated me. I had been struck by its beauty, and I wanted to know more. Instead, it felt like the story stopped there. And that's when it began to slip out of reach, to become something slowly lost to time. At every checkup after that, I made a point to look at it again, to stand there for a moment, to take it in. It became a ritual, something familiar, and a place meant for passing through. But time moves on. Appointments grow further apart. Years slip by. Eventually, my doctor retired. The office changed. The walls were cleared. And just like that, the painting was gone. Truly lost. Throughout my life, the painting would resurface in my thoughts. Every so often, I'd try again, searching the internet with a different wording, different phrases, different combinations of words, anything that might lead me back to it. But nothing ever came close. No images, no descriptions, no trace that matched what I remembered. 18 years passed, and the painting still remained lost to time. Then, something changed. Technology advanced. The rise of artificial intelligence began. Search tools just didn't match words, but could understand meaning. patterns, connections. So, I tried again. The same searches as before, only now with the power of AI. I figured if I was ever going to find it, this would be the way. But, alas, again, nothing. So, I did what anybody would do. I tried to recreate it. Using AI image generation, hoping to at least capture the feeling of the painting, if not the painting itself. But nothing came close. It looked like art, but it didn't feel like that painting, so eventually I gave up. 18 years is a long time to yearn for something, especially something you aren't even sure you'll ever see again. I stopped searching, stopped trying to recreate it, and I let it fade back into memory. But that wasn't the end of the story, because after I stopped searching, after I finally let go, something changed. 3 months later, a good friend of mine announced he was starting a new church. The name he chose was Bridge to Life. I wasn't able to attend the launch meeting, and honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to be involved in starting a new church. But he was a good friend, so I asked him to send me the recording. So I listened. And have you ever had one of those moments where the emotion hits you that you can't explain and you can't control, but you know, without a doubt, that this is exactly where you're supposed to be? That's what it felt like. Eventually, I texted him back. I told him I had listened to the message, but I didn't really know what to think yet. He replied, "Well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing." I reassured him I just needed time to reflect and that I'd get back to him. Later that night, I sat on the couch folding towels, not praying, not thinking, just doing something ordinary. And then that's when it happened. I didn't hear anything out loud, just a voice inside my head. I know how that sounds, and I'm not trying to push any agenda. I'm just telling you what happened. It told me to search for the name of the church in Google Images. I remember laughing to myself, but at the time I knew, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that if I did what it said, what I had been searching for all these years, would finally be revealed. And then, one scroll down, there it was, the painting. I had been searching for it almost half my life, and written across it were the words, "Are you on the bridge to life?" What do you even say in that moment? I didn't have words. I still don't. So with all that being said, was this entire story nothing more than a purely timed coincidence? Or was it something more? Something far greater than we could ever fully understand? As always, this part is up for you to decide. Thank you for listening to Life, the Universe, and everything in between. And until next time, keep your eyes open for what lies in the in-between.